Yeah, I went out last week. So a bunch of the coaches, we went out to celebrate the win last night.
Uh-huh.
We went to a karaoke bar
How was that?
in Lubbock. Oh, there's some terrible karaoke, bro. Really funny.
What'd they sing? What'd
Really
they
funny
sing?
stuff. One girl sang, what was it? Come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me. You know what song that is?
No.
She was terrible. She was so awful. Jill sang, Jill went up there and sang 5,000 miles. Like, and I
Well,
would walk
yeah.
500 miles and I would walk. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was so funny, bro. Hello and welcome back to the Second and Two podcast. I'm your host, TB. I've got my co-host, producer extraordinaire, hat connoisseur, master of the lenses, my guy, Jodye. What's up, Joe?
That's good, bro. I mean, I'm assuming you just finished watching the basketball game too, made a little bread on that one. So hopefully we get some good luck going into the next one, making bread on that one too.
Yeah, it was kind of a disappointing Game 7 in New York. I know we're a
Yeah.
football podcast, but yeah, it was kind of a bummer for the Knicks. I feel bad for Knicks fans because they loved this team, and it's feels like the run was
Nova
cut
Knicks.
short because of injuries.
Yeah.
A lot of injuries to finish it. I don't know. Indiana's scrappy, man. They made the in-season tournament final. Now you're going to see them in
That
the
is true.
Eastern Conference Finals. Do they have a shot against Boston? No, but could be fun. Could be fun. The East, man, the East is like what the NFC is in
Cakewalk for
football
Boston.
right now.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, like just not as talented, not as good, you know.
Mhm.
The West is a gauntlet. We'll see what happens with Minnesota Denver later.
Yep.
We're
fact.
recording right before that game, and then winner gets to take on Dallas. So feels like the winner of that series probably beats Dallas and plays Boston in the finals, and that's probably what we're getting. Feels like the three best teams are Boston, Minnesota, and Denver.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you what order, but feels like one of those three teams should win the title.
Yep. I agree.
Whoever wins Game 7 tonight probably is the favorite, is what I would guess.
I mean, Dallas has been. I feel like they don't have much depth. I don't really know, but that's my feeling.
PJ Washington and who's the dude? Gafford and Lively. All those dudes have been playing out of their mind in the OKC series. So in the playoffs in general. So we'll see what they do. Back to football, because that's what we do here. The schedule just got released, right? And so we wanted to come on quick talk today and just give our breakdown of the schedule. Now, I love to look at like the analytical thought of the rest advantages and all that stuff, but I know you are just excited for football to come back. You like to, circle certain games on the calendar. So I want to hear, Joe, what games are you most excited for in the 2024 season?
For sure. So I broke it down week by week. I wrote down a game or two or three, depending which ones I like that week. And week 18, I'll skip ahead to that. That's rivalry week, so that'll be a fun one all around. But off rip, week 1, the matchup I'm going with Ravens Chiefs Thursday night. Makes perfect sense. Get the rematch of the AFC Championship, so it's always nice. Week 2, I got Bills versus Dolphins. And the Bengals versus the Chiefs. Those are the two I'm looking forward to there. Week 3, this one's gonna have a little doozy for people. Packers Titans and the Jaguars Bills. We'll see if the Jaguars are any good by this point. And then the Packers Titans. Titans had a lot of moves over the offseason so far, where they're looking pretty beefy. And the Packers, I mean, they played the Niners off rip, and they gave them a run for their money a little bit. So that'll be fun to watch there.
Packers Titans. Where's that one at?
I'm assuming Titans. I wrote down, so you know how it's got the team on top, team on the bottom. With the first team's always the team on top, and then the one on bottom is the other team.
Okay.
So I think Tennessee, my guess. Week 4, I got Bills versus Ravens, and then the Vikings versus the Packers. Right there, we'll see J.J. McCarthy, 4 weeks in, besides preseason as well. Nice little division rivalry. And then Bills, Ravens. And, Ravens are going to be a monster all around. They got a tough schedule. And the Bills are just another team that's been solid the past couple of years. See, week 5, I got Ravens versus the Bengals, staple rivalry, and then Bills versus the Texans. We got like the young gun, CJ Stroud, and all the new dudes that he's got, all the weapons, plus our guy Stephon going playing the Bills again, where he just came from. So that'll be nice. Week 6, I
Yeah,
only got.
that's that Bills Texans game. Yeah, I'm charged up for that one too. I'm excited for that one.
Week 6, I only got one this week. I wrote Commanders versus Ravens, so it'll be like a really young team, a lot of weapons on offense. See how they're doing versus a well-oiled machine in Baltimore. You know what I mean? And they got to travel
Mhm.
across the waters, or I don't even know how Maryland works, but they're playing in Baltimore. Long story short, I don't know where it is locationally. You know how they got that little separation between the little side part. I don't know if
Yeah,
one's on opposite ends or whatnot.
yeah,
But
yeah.
let's see. Week 7, Titans versus Bills. I got Texans versus Packers, and then the Chiefs versus the Niners. Chiefs versus Niners, obviously, rematch of the Super Bowl. We got
Yep.
Texans versus Packers. Just two teams that were looking promising towards the end, and then fizzled. I shouldn't say fizzled out, but like couldn't pull it off in the playoffs. And then Titans versus Bills, like I said, Titans. Hopefully they're doing good things because I got some high hopes for them for sure. We got week 8. So for me personally, I want to go to this Vikings Rams game. It's in LA, but it's a Thursday night, which is unfortunate. So we'll see how that
Oof.
plays out. But the two games I went with here, Cowboys versus the Niners and the Ravens versus the Browns. The Browns, I think, could be that sneaky team that's like a hard hitter, like how we always saw the Steelers, you know what I mean? Where they're really scrappy, but they're gonna win. That's how I see them. And then the Cowboys, I think it'll just be a nice test for them versus the Niners because almost like midway through the season, nice team to see that's in the playoffs more often than not. And then week 9, I went Lions Packers division rivalry, not to
Ooh,
mention,
good
but
one.
yeah, just two good teams. I mean, both made playoffs. And then I went Colts Vikings, a little bit younger on the quarterbacks front over there. Could be fun, Anthony Richardson being back by then. And then, like I said, J.J. McCarthy. See how he's playing out halfway through the season. And then right here, so I did the like playoff picture predictor thingy, where you pick all the games and then it tells
Hmm.
you how each team's finishing. So the Jaguars, I didn't have them too hot. So I got Vikings Jaguars this week and Bills Colts with Lions and Texans. So it's like we'll see how they do across the conferences, along with the young quarterback being against them. Fun defense with the Jaguars that we always like to talk about. Bills Colts. Colts, they made a run, almost made it to the playoffs, I believe, last season, so that'll be cool. Then Lions Texans, two, like I said, two teams that made the playoffs, made a nice little run and couldn't quite get it done. Week 11, only one I have here, Chiefs Bills, the usual. Don't let it go into overtime. I'll say that now. I love saying that one. It's a fun joke. Let's see. Week 12, I got Titans versus the Texans. That one might be a repeat. I'm not positive, but also, of course, they're the battle of the uniform. You know what I mean? One team's from Houston, the other one left, and then Ravens Chargers. Our guy Harbaugh gets thrown into this mix now. Week was it week 12? Hopefully they're rolling. I think the Chargers probably the second best team in that division, so that'll be cool. Could be a really fun game. Let's see. Week 13, I got the Dolphins versus the Packers, and then the Niners versus the Bills. Hopefully, the Dolphins can stay healthy. We love their offense. They got a lot of speedsters, and Packers got good defensive backs. Love seeing them, so we'll see how they can match up with that. the Niners, Bills, two teams always in the run for the playoffs or the Super Bowl, I should say. All right, excuse me, my bad. Week 14. This one we got a little coming home. Falcons versus Vikings. So our guy
Ooh, the
Kirky
return
Cousins,
of Kirko Chains.
yeah, coming home to Minnesota, and then I got Bills Rams. That one's in LA. Should be fun.
Yeah.
Could be Rams. I think could be nice this year for sure. They did well last year. Finished strong. Got some good pieces, and I think they'll be pretty good. Let's see, week 15. I'm rolling Bengals Titans and Bears Vikings. Bears Vikings. We got the young dudes. You're right. The top three dudes drafted, or was it 4? No, I'm bugging. Wherever JJ got picked by the Vikings, 11, right, somewhere on there. And then Caleb Williams, of course. So see some rookie quarterbacks, and then Bengals Titans. Like I said, I have high hopes for the Titans. So this late in the year could shift some playoff predictions right here. Week 16. I messed my notes up on this one. I wrote this one rocks. I thought this originally before I got to week 18. I thought this was gonna be the rivalry week one.
Mm-hmm.
So week 16 we got Browns Bengals, Texans Chiefs, and then Steelers Ravens. Steelers hopefully they
Steelers
got their
Ravens.
quarterback.
Good
Hopefully they
one.
got the quarterback situation figured out, and we see some good
Well, they
football over
better
there.
by
Yeah,
then.
yeah. Texans Chiefs, of course. Rookie versus the vet right there. Year two guy, and then I don't even know how long Patty's been in the league, but always fun. And then Browns Bengals, just simple division rivalry. It's always scrappy, similar to when they play the Ravens. Week 17, I got Ravens versus the Texans, then Lions versus the Niners. Lions Niners could possibly be a little hint to the future right there, in the playoffs. Ravens Texans could be like a wild card game or something, possibly a couple weeks later. And then week 18, I wrote down all of them, but the two I'll give you is Browns versus Ravens and then Texans versus Titans. Probably some games for the division right there for both of those dudes.
I think of all the games you mentioned, 4 stand out in my brain. Number 1, very excited that the opener is going to be Chiefs
Yeah.
Ravens. That should
Thursday
be
night,
electric.
crazy.
Lamar, Mahomes open the year. This past year, Chiefs Lions was a fantastic opener.
Yeah,
And
better
it'll be
than
tough to
everyone
top.
expected.
It'll be tough to top that. So Ravens, Chiefs should be fun. In week 4, I don't think you mentioned this one, but I'm really excited to watch Broncos Jets because we kind of have that weird little rivalry thing with Sean Payton and Nathaniel Hackett
Yeah,
now, and there's this weird the Broncos wanted Rodgers and they never got him, and
that is
it's
true.
kind of been weird. And okay, the Jets got him a couple years later, and then obviously Rodgers getting hurt last year. All of it kind of put it all together, and it's like Sean Payton has his guy in Bo Nix now. Kind of,
True.
he got rid of Russ. He's got the quarterback he wanted to draft. Kind of remove some excuses for him, and now he gets to go play Nathaniel Hackett, who should theoretically have Rodgers remove the excuses for him. Let's see it.
What
I want to
happens?
see who's
Yeah, no,
better.
definitely.
So
No,
I like
I
that
kept the
one.
Broncos off the list just because when I did that thing, I had them pretty low, so it was like it's not none of those games sound interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Besides like them versus the Chargers or something.
I think week 5, the Bills Texans game. That one spoke to me. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see the return of Diggs, and I think both of those teams, Bills and the Texans, could be AFC playoff teams. So would love to see that one. And then week 12, the Harbaugh bash, Chargers Ravens. I think
Yeah.
truly fun one.
I didn't even
We
think of
saw
that
the last time we
storyline.
saw those guys,
Super
in
Bowl.
a high profile game was the Super Bowl coaching against
Yeah.
each other. We know John got the best of Jim. A lot has happened since then. Obviously, Jim's now, since gone on and won a national championship. He's back to the NFL and all of that. So I am excited to see those two coach against each other because they are so close and yet they're so competitive. So those are my games circled that I'm excited for.
Yeah.
Now we got to start looking at the schedule a little differently here, shifting from entertainment value to predicting wins and losses, looking at who could have a good year or a tougher year based on the schedule release, right? So teams that got, a particularly hard schedule, both when you look at the rest advantage or disadvantage and the teams on their schedule. Number one, the San Francisco 49ers have a gauntlet.
Mm.
They are going to be a minus 21 in net rest disadvantage, which means they are going to have 21 less days of rest compared to their opponents this year in 2024.
Jeez.
You
What
go
a
through
quick
their
turnaround, huh?
schedule. Yeah, you go through their schedule. Week 4, they play the Patriots at home. The Patriots are coming off of a Thursday night game the week before, so the Pats will have a 3-day rest advantage that week.
Mm-hmm.
Week 7 versus the Chiefs. The Chiefs are coming off their bye,
Oh,
so the Chiefs will have a week-long
that's tough.
rest advantage on them that week. Brutal because the Chiefs are very good. It's a home game for
Yeah.
San Francisco, but the
And they get
Chiefs
an
are a good
extra
team
week
coming
to
off a bye.
prepare.
And then guess what? The very next week, week 8, they're home again, but they're playing the Cowboys, who are also coming off their bye. So back-to-back teams, games against, the Chiefs, always Super Bowl contenders. The Cowboys, generally a close to, if not playoff team, both coming off their bye and back-to-back weeks is brutal.
Yeah.
Those are obviously both week disadvantages. Week 11, the Seahawks, they get the Seahawks at home. Seahawks are coming off their bye. So these days start adding up on these rest advantages, and then you go week 13, they go to Buffalo. Buffalo's coming off a bye. So they've got
That's
4
tough.
teams between week 7 and week 13. 4 of their opponents are coming off byes, and 3 of them are at home, but 1 is on the road, all against near playoff or playoff caliber teams.
Yeah.
Week 14, they get a home game against the Bears. The Bears played Thursday the week before, so the Bears will have a rest advantage of 4-day rest or 3-day rest advantage on them there. They also have games versus the Jets and the Rams early in the schedule, weeks 1 and weeks 3.
Yeah.
Which means you're likely to get Stafford and Rodgers both healthy at quarterback for those teams. And we know the Jets and the Rams are just different teams when Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford are healthy. So to have to see both those teams kind of early in the year sucks because they're kind of guaranteed to be healthy in those games. So you're going to have to see them. They also have to go to Green Bay in week 10, and they host Detroit week 17. So San Francisco's schedule is brutal. If you're talking about, a lot of people like looking at, playoff percentages or like what's their predicted over under wins. I don't know where they sit right now. Maybe you can look at it, Joe, but I might lean, depending on where that number is, I might lean on the under there just because this schedule is very difficult. Now, last year they had the greatest rest disadvantage of anyone in the league as well, and still finished with one of the best records in the NFL. So maybe it doesn't mean anything, but maybe it does. And the schedule is brutal.
Oh man, I put in total wins number, and they have 586 wins, 501 losses, and 14 ties. No, yeah, that's a tough schedule for sure. I know that Niners Rams game is the first home game for the Rams, so that'll be cool. See if I could get down there. We'll see what happens. So that'll be fun.
So what I've seen is the consensus is 11.5.
Okay.
The Niners could be very, very good, and against that schedule still go 11-6. I think that's I think I would lean on the under on that. I could see them taking a
Really?
slight step back. Yeah, because that schedule is so hard. I know they've got Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk and all those dudes and whatnot, but I might lean towards the under there because since McCaffrey's been in San Francisco, he's been generally healthy. We haven't seen the
Yeah, that's
injury.
true.
The Kittle Debo tandem; those guys always each miss 3 to 4 games a year.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't know. Yeah, I just think that they could be due. I mean, and again, that schedule is hard. It's a very difficult schedule. Okay, number 2, Denver. Denver is a negative 17 in rest advantage. They have week 4 at the Jets. The Jets will have played a Thursday the week before, so they'll have the rest advantage. Week 6 versus the Chargers. The Chargers are coming off their bye. Week 13 versus the Browns. The Browns have a rest advantage. Week 15 versus the Colts. They have a bye in week 14, but guess what? The Colts also have a bye. So it kind of negates their own bye, which sucks. So there's no advantage or disadvantage there. It's just that you don't even get the advantage of having the bye because the other team has a bye as well.
Yeah.
Week 17 at the Bengals will have a rest advantage. You also throw in, they have games week 1 at Seattle. They host Pittsburgh in week 2, who we know travels well. They also have to go to New Orleans on a short week in week 7 for Thursday night football. So 3 tough games outside of the rest disadvantage games as well.
Yeah.
And not to mention, they play in the AFC West, so they're going to have to see the Chiefs twice.
Yep.
So you factor all that in, and to me, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, at least 10 games on their schedule that are going to be tough.
Yeah.
Tough. So we'll see what Denver's made of, and if Sean Payton can kind of get them to fight through that brutal schedule. Indianapolis is another team. They have a negative 17 rest advantage. They're going to be week 6 at the Titans. The Titans will be coming off their bye. Back-to-back weeks, because they'll go week 7 versus the Dolphins. The Dolphins will also be coming off their bye. Week 9 at the Vikings. The Vikings will have a rest advantage. Week 15, we talked about this with the Broncos. The Colts and the Broncos negate each other's byes because they have them the same week and then play each other. And then they also have to host Detroit in week 12. They go to Green Bay in week 2. They host Pittsburgh in week 4. And they host Buffalo in week 10. Tough schedule for the Colts. A lot of people really like Shane Steichen, like Anthony Richardson, what he looked like in his limited action as a rookie. Think he can take a leap in year 2. You add A.D. Mitchell on that offense, right? Jonathan Taylor's back, all that good stuff. But this schedule is hard. So I'm looking at Indianapolis, Denver, and San Francisco as 3 teams that their schedule could make their lives a lot more difficult now that we've seen it.
Yeah, so the Colts, their over-under number was 8.5, and the Broncos was 5.5. And then there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3. 3 teams with 11.5, and Patriots at the worst with 4.5. Panthers have a 5.5. That's kind of wild.
I think, I could see the under on San Francisco. I might even lean the under on Indianapolis. Surprisingly enough, though, just talked about Denver's brutal schedule. I might go with the over. 5.5 feels really low. I think they're going to be competent, even though they're going to play with a rookie quarterback. I think Bo Nix is going to be okay in Sean Payton's system. I think that was the perfect place for him to go. And he's cleaning some stuff up, right? Some stuff that I think he didn't like when he got there. He's making it more his team. And we know when Sean Payton's had his players and his teams, he's been fairly successful. I mean, he won a Super Bowl, obviously, but the Saints were always competitive when he was there. They were year in and year out, if not a playoff team, very close to a playoff team, very similar to what Sean Payton's or Mike Tomlin's been able to do in Pittsburgh for so long. So to me, he'll have Denver hanging around right there, the 8 or 9 win mark. So 5.5, even with this schedule, feels very, very low. But Indianapolis and San Francisco could be victims to the schedule and be on the underside of their win totals. Okay, now the last thing we wanted to talk about were some dark horse teams for 2024. Again, now that we know what the offseason has brought and what their schedules look like, we can kind of take some swings and guesses at who could be a team that shows up as, a playoff team that we might not have expected. A team that didn't make the playoffs last year that may show up this year and be a playoff team. I've got 3 teams for you, Jody. You can tell me which one you like the best.
All right, let me hear them. Because I have some written down. I don't know how dark horse you wanted. Like if you wanted someone that wasn't in the playoffs at all, or like a team that was like wild card, but now they make like a leap. So
I went with teams that did not make the playoffs last year that I think could make it this year. Number 1, Minnesota. Now, of all the 4 teams in the AFC and the NFC North, Minnesota is probably the team people are talking about the least, right? Detroit came within seconds of reaching the Super Bowl last year. Everyone loved Detroit. Dan Campbell, Jared Goff gets the big deal. Amon-Ra St. Brown gets the big deal. Everyone loves Detroit. Green Bay, man, Green Bay made noise. They went from like the youngest team in the NFL to making a little playoff run, nearly beating the 49ers in the divisional round. You got Jordan Love and what he did as essentially his rookie year, even though it was like year 4 or 5 for him in the league. And then the Bears just drafted Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze in the draft. Everyone loves what they did and is absolutely on fire. The city of Chicago is thrilled. They're talking about the new stadium. What's Caleb Williams going to do as a rookie? Everyone's talking about those 3 teams, right? Minnesota's kind of sitting there going, hey, we were really close with unstable quarterback play last year. We went through 4 different quarterbacks and we still were close at the end. We've upgraded some pieces on our defense. We've gotten younger, added Jonathan Grenard and Dallas Turner in the draft as pass rushers. Danielle Hunter left, but that's okay because they got younger and they got more diverse. And then they went and picked J.J. McCarthy at quarterback, who to me was the guy that I thought could be the best quarterback in this draft, given the makeup plus the athleticism and the tools and everything that you see. And to pair that with Kevin O'Connell, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones in the backfield now, that to me is the definition of dark horse. Now, you throw all that offseason with the schedule, they're a plus 12 in rest advantage on the schedule this year. They are generally going to have an advantage versus a huge chunk of their schedule, considering that they'll come off more buys and things like that in their schedule than the other teams that they'll play. We can go through their schedule quickly, and just so we can say, look, here you go. Week 1, they get to go to New York. They have a little bit of a brutal stretch weeks 2 through 5. They got to go host the Niners, the Texans, go to Green Bay, host the Jets before they get their bye. But then they get the Lions after a bye. They get the Rams on Thursday Night Football, like you mentioned. They get the Colts with the rest advantage. They get to go to Jacksonville, to Tennessee, to Chicago, host the Cardinals, host Kirk O'Chains again in Atlanta, host the Bears, go to Seattle, host Green Bay, and then finish the year at Detroit. I think they have a very good shot, to be a 9-8, 10-7 type team and sneak into that wild card, despite everyone thinking like Detroit and Green Bay are the class of the division, which they are at this moment. But I think Minnesota could sneak into the playoffs given what we've seen from their offseason and the rest advantage that they have on their schedule.
Yeah, no, when I did my thing, I didn't have them all too high, but it's just me basing that off the rookie quarterback. Obviously, I do agree with you with him being probably the best one coming out, if not the most ready to play. So just how quickly he could adjust or get the offense down and whatnot, like those preseason games will be telling if like they'll be ready to go or if it's like it's going to take a couple games to get going. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. All right, team number 2. I have Jacksonville.
Ooh, that's a big
which is
one.
interesting because I know you said you did not like them.
Nope, not this year. Last year, yes, I loved them. Not this year.
So they're going to be a +4 rest advantage. I like that they added the receiver in the draft. I honestly think it was in their favor that Calvin Ridley left and then they went and drafted Brian Thomas Jr. I actually think Brian Thomas Jr. is a better receiver for what Trevor Lawrence needs to do, which is extend his game down the field. Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be a better vertical threat than Calvin Ridley was. They also have Gabe Davis, another vertical threat that I think can help. So I like what they did offensively. They did some good stuff in the draft defensively as well. I look at, their schedule. They start on the road in Miami. They get Cleveland at home. They go to Buffalo on Monday Night Football, to Houston, get the Colts at home, to the Bears, the Patriots at home. That's a nice little stretch, right, where you feel like they could get on a run. Get the Packers at home. They got to go to Philly. They host Minnesota at the Lions. Then they get their bye. They get Houston off the bye, right? So they get the rest advantage there, which is a big divisional game. Good for them. They go to Tennessee. They get the Jets at home later in the year when potentially maybe the Jets are possibly a little more banged up as an older team, specifically Rodgers, right? They go to Oakland, or I'm sorry, Vegas. Sorry. And then they get to finish the year with two divisional opponents hosting the Titans and at the Colts. I think, everyone thought last year was Jacksonville's year, and then they started off right and then sort of crumbled as the year went. Yep. I think they could flip the script this year. It's definitely a we need to know year for Trevor Lawrence and
facts
and their head coach. So to me, they got to win. Yeah, Doug Peterson. Thank you. And they got to win. And I actually do think they have the tools to pull it off. And I think the schedule helps. Again, +4 on the rest advantage. Last but not least, dark horse wise, I've got the Washington Commanders. Okay. Oh. We know that NFC East is fickle. A new team wins the division every year. No one's won it back-to-back for like 15-plus years. Philly crumbled at the end of last season. I don't know. Or did they right the ship? Did they change some things? Did the changes at coordinators in the offseason make it right? Did guys getting some money, A.J. Brown and my guy, the Slim Reaper, their other receiver.
Devontae Smith.
Thank you. Devontae Smith, they both got paid. Does that help? Maybe, maybe not. Dallas feels like they're going in the wrong direction. They still don't know what they're doing with Dak. They let a lot of guys walk in free agency. Zeke came back to be the primary back again. They haven't paid CeeDee Lamb yet. And so a lot of stuff there that I don't know if I feel great about with Dallas. And then New York, they still have Daniel Jones as their quarterback. And they lost Saquon Barkley in free agency. Okay, so
that was their guy.
Philly could be a lot better, but it feels like Dallas and New York are definitely worse. Philly could potentially be worse. I think Washington got a lot better. I've said this after the draft. I loved what Washington did in the offseason. The hiring of Peters as the GM, Dan Quinn as the head coach is a great mix of a guy who's, with Dan Quinn, who's had the experience of being a head coach, been to a Super Bowl, and then Adam Peters, who's part of an organization that keeps going to Super Bowls and has had a lot of success in recent years, and he was a big part of that. You put those two together, you bring in some vets like Zach Ertz, like Bobby Wagner, that understand what it takes, Frankie Aluvu, these dudes that understand what it takes to win. And then they drafted some guys that I loved. I told you I loved their draft, especially the second round, what they did. I like Jaden Daniels at quarterback. As long as he stays healthy, I think they have a very, very good shot to upset some people. And then in terms of the rest advantage, they're a -2, net -2, but that's actually somewhere in the middle of the league. It's kind of middle of the pack. If you go through their schedule, it looks something like week 1, they go to Tampa Bay. Week 2, they host New York. Week 3, they're Monday Night Football in Cincinnati. Week 4, they go to Arizona. I think there's a very good chance they can at least start off 2-2, 3-1, even with the rookie quarterback, right? So if you start that way, give some confidence to yourselves. And then they go host Cleveland, to Baltimore, host Carolina, host Chicago, who will have a rest advantage that week. They'll be at New York. They host Pittsburgh, at Philly on Thursday Night Football. Then they'll host the Cowboys with a nice rest advantage. They'll host Tennessee. They get the bye. And then they come off the bye with the rest advantage at New Orleans. Host Philly, finish the year hosting Atlanta, and then finishing at Dallas. I think they have a very good shot. Again, like I said, with Minnesota and Jacksonville, I think Jacksonville has a shot to win the division. I think Minnesota has a shot to sneak into the playoffs. I think Washington potentially, if things broke the right way, could win the division. Now, I think it's more likely that they are like a 9-8, 7 seed sneaking into the playoffs. Like if the playoffs were something like, you're, in the
shines, couple teams,
the NFC West. 10, the NFC West is one team, right? Yeah. It's either San Francisco, LA, Seattle wins the division. If San Francisco struggles with the schedule, like I said, maybe you only get one team out of that division. Maybe the NFC North is 3 teams. Maybe it is Green Bay, Minnesota, and Detroit all coming out. Maybe that the NFC East is Philly and Washington, right? And then the NFC South is just
one team.
I don't know, pick Tampa, New Orleans, or Atlanta to win it, right? One team coming out of there. I think that's what you're looking at is in the NFC this year. It's the 3 teams from the North that I mentioned. I think it's probably 2 teams from the West competing, maybe 3. The NFC South will have 1 team in it, right? And then the NFC East could be 1 or 2 teams, right? So it's going to be about 8, maybe 9 teams for those 7 spots right at the end. But I think Minnesota and Washington are right in the thick of that. Even though most people probably aren't thinking of either of those teams that way. I think a lot more people are probably wanting it to be Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Or Dallas or Atlanta if they were to not win the division, like if Tampa or New Orleans were to win it, Atlanta, So
True.
These teams aren't necessarily sexy picks at this moment, but I could see them being teams that find their way in the playoffs by 2025.
All right. So the 2 that I don't have that that were more dark horse than you would think, I have the Colts and the Titans. I mean, I like with both of them, or I should say, I like more with the Titans. I know more of what they did just because busting with the boys, talk to those dudes all often. But the Colts too, with Anthony Richardson coming back, they did well with Gardner Minshew last year. They got more weapons, and hopefully he can stay healthy for the year, and that will progress to more wins because they almost made it, right? I'm not bugging on that. Yeah, it was really close. So we'll see. Those are my 2. I'll throw out. Probably a little less of a dark horse from what you were giving us, considering how those teams did last year. But those are who
The
I was looking at.
Titans would surprise me a little bit. I'm not sure I like what the Titans did. I can't.
Really?
I mean, they invested a lot at receiver, but they're old.
That's true.
DeAndre Hopkins is over 30. Calvin Ridley is turning 30. They also signed the Tyler Boyd from Cincinnati. He's approaching 30. All right. And then they also have Traylon Burks, who they drafted a couple years ago, who hasn't really panned out yet. So, they have a lot of names at receiver, but I'm not sure those guys still have it like they might have at one earlier points in their career. And then it's also, do I really trust Will Levis? Did I see enough from Will Levis last year to feel like, yeah, he's good enough to get him to the playoffs? I'm just not sure. Brand new head coach. We'll see what he does. Comes from that from Cincinnati, off the sort of McVay tree, a branch off of the McVay tree, right? Zach Taylor, head coach in Cincinnati, came from McVay's system. So we'll see if Callahan can get it right. But yeah, I'm not sold yet on rookie head coach, second-year quarterback, aging receivers as
when you put it that way, yeah, I agree.
I could, like I said, I could be wrong. I'm not. I think if I was putting my stock in someone in that division right now, the team you feel probably the best about is Houston, right?
True.
But if I'm saying who's my second tier team in that division, if I'm saying 2 teams are making the playoffs and Houston's winning the division, and then I'm picking someone else to make it,
yeah.
To me, I think it's Jacksonville, which is probably not popular given the way they finished. I know everyone likes Indianapolis. Again, their schedule is so brutal, though, that I think Jacksonville has a huge advantage there. And I also think that Jacksonville, they went to the playoffs and won a playoff game not that long. It was less than 2 years ago that they were in the playoffs, winning a playoff game against the Chargers and then competing with the Chiefs. They're not that far off. So I think they have a very good shot to be the other team in that division with Houston.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Time will tell. We're getting closer to it. Luckily enough, we got less than 4 months. That's good. It's approaching
I saw
slowly.
it was 16 Sundays until we're back. So, um, but I think we got to get a banger of the week this week. All
Sir.
right. So, Jody,
Yes, sir.
let's hear what you got for us. Banger of the week.
All right. So today, right after this, actually, I'm going meeting up with Johnny. We're gonna cook some food, make some drinks, and one I like ordering. They wanted specifically vodka. So I'm in charge of bartending. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
But one I like ordering out in the public with vodka. I like getting a Moscow Mule. You know what I mean? Nice vodka, ginger beer, throw some lime in there. So we'll see how I make it, but that's a good one I like going to. You get the nice little mug with it. You know what I mean? It's always fun to look at. It's good though. That's one I could definitely get behind. Just sitting down, relaxing with the homies. You know what I mean?
Summer drink, huh? That's the
Yeah,
one.
not necessarily like the most like girly looking one, although you get the different cup, but like it's still got some good flavor in there, to mix that part up.
Fair enough. Uh, my banger of the week. Bought some new cookies today. All
Uh-huh.
right. Now they look like chocolate chip cookies, but instead of chunks of chocolate in the cookie, it's
Mhm.
chunks of brownie and cookies and cream cookies.
That sounds
So
like
like,
half baked, but in a cookie form.
yeah, it's essentially what it is. Now I haven't eaten it yet, so I'm giving
Uh-huh.
it to you as my banger of the week without having even tried it. But I'm gonna try them. All right, and we'll see how this goes. But I'll let y'all know the next time we hop on here how it
Mhm.
went. But yeah, that's my banger of the week. I'm gonna try
Empty one.
some cookies and cream brownie chocolate chip cookies.
Mhm. That
All right.
sounds good though. I mean, you can't go wrong. Throw it in the microwave real quick, warm it up, get it nice and
Mm-hmm.
warm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
little milk, and then
Yeah.
call it good.
Most definitely.
Um, but gotta give a shout out to our baseball team. Same
Yeah.
kids that
We
played
were talking
football
about that
for me,
earlier.
and they just won yesterday. They're in the regional final now. Kids are doing great. Super proud of them. And anytime you're playing after school is out, which by the way, we're done.
Oh, free
Last week
man.
schools. Yes, no school tomorrow. Your boy's free. Summer vacay. I'm in summer mode.
Yep.
But anytime your team is playing post school, you've done something
That's
pretty
good
well,
thing.
something pretty
That's good
special.
thing.
So proud of the kids. They're doing a great job. I love being a part of it. I'm not even coaching. I just go to all the games.
Yeah.
I like
Support
go
the
and I hang
kids.
out in the dugout. I'm like Mr. Positive in the dugout, and then they let me keep track of pitches and stuff. You know what I mean? I just help the team however I can. I had to buy them their team meal the other day, which
There we
not to
go.
say it like came out of my pocket. Right, school reimburses me, but like
Yeah.
I just went and did it for them. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Just
yeah.
helping the kids
Where'd
as
you get
much as I
'em?
possibly can. We got them Brahms. You know what that is?
What is that?
So Brahms is like I think it's only in Texas or it's only in a few states, Texas being one of them. But it's
Yeah.
like a chain, kind of like fast food. It's kind of like I think it's a little bit better than Dairy Queen, but sort of similar like
Okay.
vibes, like
Yeah.
really, really heavy on the ice cream. Now what's different with them is obviously you can go through the drive through and everything, but when you go inside, they have like a whole little like mini grocery store in there. And it's a
Oh,
lot of like dairy products. Like they have their own dairy farms where they get their
think
stuff
they
to
make
make their
their own
ice cream,
product in
and
home.
then they sell the dairy products in this little
Oh,
grocery store, like on the side
that's
of
gotta
this.
be really good then.
Yeah, the ice cream. Now they sell. My favorite thing there is they sell this half chocolate, half vanilla froyo cone.
Oh,
Fantastic, bro. It's like because the consistency is just it's
yeah.
like perfect. It melts on your tongue, man. Like
Mhm. Yep. I
unbelievably good.
I can't
But
relate from the feeling, but I get what you're getting at. That's
yeah,
fire.
no, fantastic. So shout out Brahms. They're not a sponsor of this podcast, but shout them out. They do a good job. Maybe when you come to visit me in Texas, we'll
Definitely.
get you some
Gotta
Brahms.
stop there.
But we'll call it a day here. Not a lot of NFL stuff moving forward. Obviously, like it's the summertime. Not won't be a whole lot of news, but we will
Mhm.
certainly be talking, getting you ready for the NFL season as we get closer. We'll have some guests on, talk to some people, and yeah, you'll hear from us again soon. We may take some longer breaks, I think, in the summer. Give ourselves some time. We may even get an in-person podcast this summer when I go visit your boy in California. So be excited, be ready for some stuff we've got coming up. But until then, Jody, you got to throw it to our guy.
Taking us out.